Our next speaker has a unique vantage point on the future of defense innovation. We are delighted to welcome Senator Jon Tester, Chair of the Senate Appropriations Subcommittee on Defense. Senator Tester will deliver brief remarks and then answer a few questions. Please prepare your questions and remember to keep them brief. Senator, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me today. I hope you guys are having a great conference. This conference could not be more timely. Just this morning, less than an hour ago, I was with Secretary Austin, General Brown, to discuss the DoD's budget. In particular, we discussed the question of how we can get tools that matter for a future warfighter into those hands quicker. As chairman of the committee that appropriates the money for defense, my top priority is making sure that our armed services have the necessary resources they need to keep our nation safe. Might I add, a very unsafe time in this world. I am committed to securing a budget that invests in our ability to stay ahead of the threat of China and Russia and North Korea and Iran, to defend our country, take care of our service members and their families. And in light of China's military modernization and aggressive behavior, we'd be foolish not to tap into the innovative practices and technologies to make sure that America remains the world's leading military and economic power. But let me be clear. The best tools don't mean anything if we can't pass a budget on time. Our national security, military power, and continued technological advantage depends on Congress doing their job and doing it on time. We enacted this year's defense appropriations bill 6 months after it should have been passed. Some folks seem to think that that's just cool. It is not, because you cannot buy back lost time. And by the way, anyone who thinks CRs save money, they're absolutely unequivocally wrong. CRs cost money, and a lot of it. I encourage each and every one of you here to hold Congress accountable and demand that we do our jobs and do it on time. Quite frankly, that starts with every member of Congress understanding the seriousness of the threat within the world we live. That said, I'd like to point some critical measures Congress took as recently as last month to accelerate innovation within the Department of Defense. To name a few of those measures, we worked closely with the department's leadership to bypass the cumbersome budget and acquisition project and accelerated the replicator initiative. This will allow the services to speed up the funding of non-traditional technologies that will give us an asymmetric advantage as we address the challenges of our adversaries. Second, for the first time ever, the Department of Defense has loan guarantee authority, giving another lifeline to non-traditional vendors working to bridge the so-called valley of death. And third, we increased the department's budget flexibility to allow the military services to start new programs during the year and fix problems internally before they spiral out of control. And finally, while innovation can and should be adopted everywhere across the department, we bumped up the Defense Innovation Unit budget to $1 billion to inject realism and urgency into the investment into innovative technologies. With new direction and funding in place, we expect the military services to turn the corner on adopting innovative practices leading to direct results for the warfighter. That being said, innovation without accountability will not get us where we need to be. Innovative programs have to transition into meaningful capabilities in the hands of the warfighters. Or put another way, just demonstrating a handful of prototypes really doesn't change the equation in a meaningful way. We can talk about innovative technologies, advanced research, and the future of war all we want, but if we do not deliver meaningful capabilities for those at the tip of the spear, those investments will not matter. In times of tight budgets and competition for resources, cost overruns and schedule delays in innovative programs are as damaging as they are to regular programs. So along with pressing the DoD to keep pushing the envelope on innovation, our collective goal must be to break through cultural obstacles and institutional resistance and demand meaningful results. I look forward to continuing to work with all of you and with the DoD to make this a reality. I'll continue to work with Democrats and Republican colleagues to make sure our military gets the resources they need to keep America the greatest country that's ever existed in the world. With that, thank you. And if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to try to answer them. Thank you very much. Questions, comments? No rotten fruit. Do we like that? Yes, sir. Over here. Let me give you a mic so I can hear you.
Could you speak to how you're enabling innovation within the Department of Defense, specifically in the product management process and the capability needs process, and evolving how that works in the software development lifecycle?
I hate to do this to you, but you got to ask the question one more time, a little bit louder, please.
Nope, that's all right. So the question was about innovating the capability needs process within the software development lifecycle at the Department of Defense. Could you speak to how you're planning on innovating that process?
Well, I think it's through flexibility more than anything. I mean, the Department of Defense knows what they need far better than people in Congress do. I think we need to support them in that, but we also need to hold them accountable. And flexibility, this budget gives the defense flexibility like never before. And for me, as a member of the Senate, as a policymaker, as somebody that provides oversight, we just have to have the kind of oversight to make sure that they're doing their job, that they're listening to you, but pushing you as they do that, to maybe they'll make sure we get the best technology possible in the hands of the warfighter as soon as possible. This, as I said in my opening remark, this is a dangerous time in this world, as dangerous as it was during the Cuban Missile Crisis. And the fact is that we need more competition in the marketplace. We need as bright a mind as we have in the country and in the world as far as that goes, helping us defeat people who want to defeat us. And I think flexibility is really important. I think we've done that in the budget.
Right here.
Yes.
Sir, thank you very much for being here. What's Congress doing to increase the number of very experienced, qualified private sector individuals to contribute their expertise to the DoD and to Congress in terms of defining the national priority? We just heard from Jason Kelly, who's leading only the third ever legislative commission on biotechnology, the first two being on cyber and AI. How do we develop more of these things and get more people like Eric Schmidt, Jason Kelly, and others contributing their expertise both legislatively and programmatically within the organizations Congress oversees?
Well, I think it's communication. I mean, I heard the last individual speaking, and he's spot on. Communication is critically important. It's critically important in everything we do. And if we're leaving out any sectors of the business because of a lack of communication, shame on us. And that includes Congress. That includes certainly the folks in the military. That includes defense contractors up and down. It includes the new innovators that are out there. Here's a challenge I have, quite frankly, and that's why you have to talk to everybody. I get talked to every day from people who have got the best thing since sliced bread. The military can't live without this technology or without this piece of equipment. I've developed it. It's the best. Just fund it. Well, it takes more than that. You've got to jump through, I think, the necessary hoops, but we need to make those hoops realistic so it doesn't withhold our ability to be able to have the best and the brightest work, because time is a killer. Time is a killer for innovation. And so I just think we need to have everybody at the table as much as possible. That means Congress has to do their job too. They have to be talking to people like you. They have to be talking to the military. We have to figure out where the military intends to go and how they intend to get there and what they're doing to achieve those goals. And so it really does, as the previous man said, it deals a lot with communication. And if you leave out any of those, for example, I had a guy come into me not long ago. He had a great, I'm a dirt farmer in my real life, okay? He had a great technological thing he was doing. He told me about it. Sounded really good, okay? I said, have you talked to the military? And he said, no. Well, look, guys, and this is a fact. If the military don't want it, your chance of getting funded is pretty damn slim. And so you need to talk to everybody. I mean, we can encourage them to take a look at stuff, but ultimately, in the end, if we fund stuff that they don't want, they're not going to use it anyway, okay? So we need to make sure that everybody's talking to one another. It's really important.
Thanks, Senator. I'm Josh Baer from Capital Factory in Austin. We have a DIU outpost there. So I was really excited to hear about the funding for them and would love to hear more about what you want to see come out of that and how you want to see the commercial industry engage with DIU on that.
So what I want to see is, be careful how I say this. Look, the military complex, I think, is way too consolidated for my liking. I think we need to bring in as many good ideas and companies that can perform. There's some risk with that, by the way, but companies that can perform as we possibly can. As I said earlier, the bottom line is that we need innovation. The world's changing very, very quickly. Depending on who you talk to, some will tell you that the next war won't be fought here, it'll be fought in space. So what I hope comes out of that are flexibility by the military to be able to help direct new companies, creative companies, companies that are nimble, to be able to provide a beneficial relationship to make this country safer and keep our enemies at bay. That's it. Yes.
Right here.
Thank you for your time. My question is around the ATO process to deploying technology into the DoD. As you can probably tell from the conference, the attendance here today, there's no shortage of companies that want to work with the government today. Now, there's significant...
Say that again. There's no shortage of what?
There's no shortage of companies that want to work with the U.S. government today.
Yeah.
There's plenty of people who want to, who are not able to because of the regulatory hurdles that they need to go through. And for small companies, going through the authority to operate process, it can cost millions of dollars and take several years.
Yeah.
And this is a significant hurdle for many small organizations. Do you have a plan to speed up or change, adjust the process that organizations go through to receiving, let's say, an authority to operate or various different cybersecurity requirements? Because I believe many people think that it's a significant barrier to entry.
Yeah, well, I think it is a significant area for entry. And if Congress wasn't as dysfunctional as it is, it'd probably be less of a barrier. But in the end, what we have done in the budget is give the military flexibility to be able to speed up a lot of these projects based on what they're seeing on the ground and based on what can be delivered to the military. Now, we're just starting this project out, okay? It may be successful or maybe not. Congress still continues to need to provide oversight to make sure that if it ain't working, why? And what can we do to make it so it does work? But ultimately, in the end, I think the flexibility that we're giving through Secretary Hicks's initiatives and others should allow for the little guy, so to speak, to be able to insert themselves into the equation to be a meaningful provider of either technology or equipment that will help keep this country safe. But if in fact the military doesn't utilize this in a way that actually provides that kind of increased access for particularly small businesses, then we need to hear from you. And we need to do something within the next budget to light a fire underneath military folks to be able to say, hey, we gave you this authority. By the way, by us giving you this authority, it took away some of our authority. And if you don't use it in a way that makes sense with the goal in mind that we're going to expand the base that's out there and try to use more of the great minds that are out there to help protect this country, then we're going to have to beat some folks up and get different people in positions within the military to be able to do that. I do think Assistant Secretary Hicks is somebody that has pushed these initiatives. She's in the military, and I think I think it can help, but we still need to provide oversight to make sure that they're working.
Hi, Senator.
Yes.
Hi, thanks for being here, Senator. I just wanted to get your thoughts on, as chairman of SACD, how you're thinking about innovation as it relates to the joint force, especially with conflict in the Indo-Pacific, and and just the increased importance of interoperability, especially in that theater? Thank you.
So I'll tell you how I'm thinking about it. We wouldn't be doing what we've done in the last budget if we didn't think it was really important that we get as many people at the table as we can. I think the interoperability, the ability to do anything within the military and having the redundancy that's necessary to make sure that that can work is very, very important. I can also tell you that I personally have a lot of frustration with technology in that. So let me give you an example, not to throw anybody under the bus. Let me give you an example. We've been talking about interoperability between the DoD and the VA for 20 years. We have literally spent billions of dollars on technology to make sure a thing called an electronic health record can talk to one another. And what have we gotten out of that as the American taxpayer? What have our veterans gotten out of it? What's the DoD out of it? That's right, jack, nothing. And so consequently, I think that this can help solve that problem. If you've got more people and it's a more competitive market and people say, hey, we can deliver, hold them accountable. Just like you hold a shipbuilder, which we're not doing very well, accountable to building a ship, let's do the same thing in technology. Otherwise, we end up with a situation where we're just continuing to do nothing. And by the way, we can't afford that. We can't afford that. And we've got the best minds in the world. We need to release them so that they can help us. I don't care if it's in Europe and in the Pacific, wherever, South America, Africa, wherever, to make sure that we give the warfighter what they need to be successful. Last question, and then I got to scoot.
Thank you for doing this. A couple questions on Kathleen Hicks's replicator initiative. There's been some confusion about how much money they're still looking to get from Congress after the $300 million reprogramming request. How much is still in the works for reprogramming? And secondly, you've advocated for increasing the top line of the budget for DoD. I'm wondering if you can give us a figure on exactly how much you're looking for that. Thank you.
So the reprogramming dollars, if I told you, I'd just be shooting from the hip, and I can't tell you. That's if Kate was up here, she could probably tell you how many dollars are available. I cannot off the top of my head. We are a long ways from increasing the caps. There's a number of political reasons why that's the case. What I would tell the folks on both sides of the aisle is that if we don't do a good job in deterrence right now, it's going to cost us a hell of a lot more money later. And that's why I think the cap, so 1% cap that doesn't even keep up with inflation, is unreasonable and unrealistic. By the way, it's also unreasonable and unrealistic that we don't get budgets done by the end of the fiscal year. So part of it's on us. But right now, look, Susan Collins is chair of the Full Appropriations Committee. She's our ranking member of the Full Appropriations Committee. She's also a ranking member of the Defense Committee that I serve as chair. I talked to her just at the meeting that I had with Austin and Brown, and I said to her, so how are the negotiations going with Schumer and McConnell and Patty Murray and you on getting the budget caps increased? And she said, not well. I'm going to try to insert myself in that equation for what it's worth, because I really feel strongly that this is a situation within the budgets that it's either pay me now or pay me later. It's going to cost a hell of a lot more later. So let's get a budget that works both near term, and this one does work near term. It's the long-term stuff that's going to get shortchanged, and it's going to cost more money the later we go. So the negotiations on the budget caps are still in flux. I do not have a number in mind. What I have is it needs to be more than what we got, and whatever we get, we'll spend smartly and to the taxpayers' benefit and to this nation's security's benefit. Thank you all very much. God bless you all. Hope you have a great conference.